Welcome to the CompTIA Project Plus Prepcast by baremetalcyber.com. Data classification in projects is the process of categorizing information so that it can be stored, accessed, and protected according to its sensitivity and value. This classification guides the controls applied to the data, helping to determine how it is secured, who can view it, and how it can be transmitted. In practice, classification drives risk management decisions, supports compliance with applicable laws, and informs the selection of security technologies. The project manager must understand the organization's classification scheme to ensure each type of data in the project receives the right level of protection. The primary purpose of classifying data is to make sure sensitive information gets the safeguards it requires. Proper classification minimizes the chance of accidental disclosure and helps prevent data leaks, regulatory violations, and reputational harm. It also supports access control, ensuring that only authorized individuals can view or modify the data, and guides how information is managed across its life cycle from creation to secure disposal. Without classification, it is easy to overlook risks or misapply protections. Organizations often define multiple classification levels to cover different categories of sensitivity. Public data is considered safe for general release and carries minimal handling requirements. Internal data is intended for employees and partners, but is not harmful if accidentally disclosed. Confidential or restricted data is sensitive and could cause damage if exposed, requiring stricter controls. Regulated or classified data is subject to legal, contractual, or national security rules, making compliance with handling requirements mandatory. The project manager must know these distinctions to align controls with category requirements. Personally identifiable information, or PII, is a classification category that refers to data points that can identify an individual. Examples include names, addresses, social security numbers, birth dates, and government-issued IDs. PII is regulated in many jurisdictions, including under laws like the General Data Protection Regulation, the California Consumer Privacy Act, and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act for certain contexts. Mishandling PII can trigger serious legal consequences and loss of stakeholder trust. Protecting PII in a project involves applying encryption to the data, both while stored and while transmitted. Access should be granted only to individuals whose roles require them to work with PII, and these permissions should be reviewed regularly. If a breach occurs, regulations often require that affected parties and regulatory bodies be notified within a specific time frame. The project manager's role includes ensuring the team follows these requirements and has processes ready to respond quickly to any incident. Protected health information, or PHI, refers to medical and health-related records linked to an identifiable individual. In the United States, PHI is governed by the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which applies not only to healthcare providers, but also to insurers and contractors who process health data. Similar protections exist in other jurisdictions, and failing to comply can result in severe penalties. Projects in healthcare or research must be especially vigilant about how PHI is handled. Safeguarding PHI requires secure storage with strong encryption, detailed audit trails to track every access, and access logs to verify compliance. When analysis is needed, de-identification or anonymization techniques can be applied so that personal identifiers are removed before use. For any third-party processors handling PHI, business associate agreements must be in place to define responsibilities and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. Intellectual property, or IP, includes proprietary business information such as trade secrets, product designs, source code, and research and development data. The loss of IP can damage an organization's competitive advantage, erode market share, and lead to legal disputes. Project managers must apply strong access controls, enforce non-disclosure agreements, and ensure that collaborators understand the importance of safeguarding these assets. Securing IP in collaborative environments requires segmenting access so that individuals only see the portions of information relevant to their work. Document version tracking ensures changes are monitored, and external sharing restrictions prevent sensitive files from leaving approved channels. All team members and partners must be aware that IP is highly sensitive and that breaches can have significant legal and financial repercussions. National security and classified information refers to data that is critical to government operations, defense, or public safety. Access to such data is restricted to individuals with the proper clearance level and a valid need to know. Mishandling classified information can result in criminal charges, loss of contracts, and serious operational damage. Projects in these domains must operate under strict oversight and follow established protocols without deviation. Handling classified data includes proper labeling of documents and systems to indicate their classification level. Such data must be stored and processed on secure networks, encrypted storage devices, and within designated access zones. Transportation or sharing of classified information may require additional security measures such as secure couriers, tracking systems, and explicit authorization. These protocols are non-negotiable and are subject to regular inspection. Data classification policies and standards formalize how each classification category is defined, labeled, and protected. These policies should be documented, communicated to all project members, and enforced consistently. Regular audits confirm adherence, and classification awareness should be part of onboarding for anyone joining the project. The project manager is responsible for ensuring that the team understands the rules and that classification is applied to all project data from the start. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. The role of the project manager in data classification compliance begins with identifying sensitive data as early as possible in the project lifecycle. Once identified, the project manager ensures that handling controls are in place that match the classification level and the organization's data governance policies. This role also involves coordinating with legal, security, and compliance teams to verify that project-level controls align with corporate standards and any applicable regulatory requirements. Maintaining this alignment helps reduce the risk of accidental mishandling and ensures accountability. Data classification in cloud environments requires the same discipline as on-premises systems, but with additional considerations for provider capabilities and shared responsibility models. Cloud storage must support encryption for both data at rest and in transit, and it must offer granular access controls to restrict permissions. The project manager must verify that the cloud provider meets all regulatory and contractual obligations, including regional data residency rules. Security settings in the cloud environment must reflect the highest classification level of the data stored there to ensure uniform protection. Automated tools for data classification can reduce the administrative burden and improve consistency. Some platforms use artificial intelligence or pattern recognition to scan and tag files based on the presence of PII, PHI, or other regulated terms. These tools can operate in real time to prevent sensitive data from being stored in unapproved locations or shared outside of authorized channels. The project manager should ensure that these tools are configured correctly, reviewed periodically for accuracy, and integrated with the organization's broader security strategy. Training teams on data sensitivity ensures that everyone involved in the project understands what constitutes sensitive information and how it must be handled. This training should include practical examples, clear handling procedures for each classification level, and the rules for reporting potential incidents. Building awareness among team members helps prevent accidental leaks and improves compliance by making the classification system part of everyday work practices. Handling data requests and disclosures requires careful oversight. Requests may come from regulators, auditors, or legal authorities, and the project manager must ensure that any data shared complies with applicable laws and only includes fields that are strictly necessary. Techniques such as redaction or anonymization should be used to protect non-essential sensitive information. Clear procedures help prevent overdisclosure and maintain compliance. Applying data minimization principles in a project means collecting and storing only the information that is required for defined purposes. Minimization reduces the amount of sensitive data exposed if a breach occurs and simplifies compliance obligations. This principle also supports privacy frameworks like the General Data Protection Regulation by ensuring that projects do not retain or process unnecessary data. The project manager should ensure that data collection requirements are well defined and documented from the outset. Incident response for data breaches must include steps that reflect the classification of the compromised data. Highly classified or regulated data often requires specific notifications to affected individuals and regulatory bodies within strict timelines. The project manager's responsibilities include supporting containment efforts, ensuring that evidence is preserved for investigation, and coordinating stakeholder communications to maintain transparency and trust. When third parties handle classified or sensitive data, they must be held to the same standards as internal teams. Contracts should explicitly outline classification requirements, handling restrictions, and penalties for non-compliance. The project manager should vet vendors for compliance capabilities, track data flows to and from third parties, and conduct periodic reviews to confirm that contractual obligations are being met. Retention and disposal of classified data must follow established policies that define how long each data type is stored and the secure methods for its destruction. For digital assets, secure deletion tools should be used to ensure data cannot be recovered. For physical records, shredding or incineration may be necessary. The project manager must confirm that retention schedules are followed and that destruction is documented for audit purposes. Auditing and logging access to sensitive data provides a record of who accessed the information, when, and from where. Regular log reviews can help detect anomalies, unauthorized access attempts, or patterns that may indicate a security risk. The project manager should ensure that logs are comprehensive, retained for the required period, and available for compliance audits. This supports accountability across the project team and any third parties involved. Classification should influence data architecture planning so that sensitive data is segregated and protected at the design level. Segregated storage systems, zero-trust access policies, and network segmentation are common controls to prevent lateral movement to high-risk data. The project manager should work with architects to ensure that security measures are built into system designs rather than added as afterthoughts. Legal and regulatory drivers behind classification include laws such as PII, the General Data Protection Regulation, the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, and the Federal Information Security Management Act. Each of these defines specific handling requirements for certain data types. The project manager must translate these requirements into practical controls within the project plan, ensuring they are both achievable and enforceable. Non-compliance can result in fines, operational shutdowns, and reputational harm. Data classification responsibilities for a project manager encompass knowing what types of data are involved, ensuring proper labeling and handling, and overseeing secure disposal. Correct classification reduces the likelihood of legal exposure, operational risk, and reputational damage. As a cornerstone of data protection and regulatory compliance, classification must be applied consistently and reinforced through governance, training, and regular audits. Thank you for listening. Please follow baremetalcyber.com on social media and check out our books at cyberauthor.me.